Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Solar Sidekicks. My name is Pat Southwell, and I am your co-host, and I am here today with my other co-host, Lauren Seconti. Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning. How are we? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday again. We're back in the studio in Carrum.
Yep, changing it up.
Yeah, we are again. Before we start today, we've got a great episode coming up. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional landowners of where we're recording this today, and that's the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. And I pay my respects to all elders past, present, and emerging. Well, Lauren, you've been able to secure a couple of amazing guests for today.
Yes, I'm very excited. I would dare say that I've gotten pretty close with both of you
Yeah.
in the last couple of months. So I'm pretty keen for this episode. It's going to be good.
Me too. I've been looking forward to it as well, especially considering all the other podcasts we've done and all the work you've done in the background. So it's a very warm welcome to Charmaine Volpe and Andrew Bailey from Citipower Powercor United. Welcome, guys.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah,
It's very
thanks very
exciting.
much.
Thanks for coming on. This is huge.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
really happy you guys have been able to make it on your way down to Carrum. How was your drive down here, all right?
It's pretty smooth, actually.
Yeah.
Better than heading into the city, which
Yeah,
I
I
normally do.
bet.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, nice to be going against traffic.
Yeah, very good. Good stuff. All right, well, as we start, do you want to just give us, one at a time, just give us a quick rundown on what your roles are, who you work for, like I know who you work for and everything, but just give our listeners a quick rundown on what you do and, yeah, what this is all about.
Yeah, no problem. So I am the manager of New Energy Services, and my role crosses over Citipower, Powercor and United Energy. So my team are looking after all of the solar applications, batteries, starting to dabble into EVs, etc. Which is very exciting. So yeah, my team really are at the forefront with customers and installers. So we obviously managing all of their inquiries, which there's lots of those now with Backstop coming into effect.
I bet.
Yeah. And then, I've had a key role in, I guess, the Backstop project and implementation. I was one of the customer leads. So really making sure that the changes we made to our processes, our systems were customer centric and that we were thinking about them in all the decisions that we were making.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, what about you, Andrew?
So my title is Head of Network Program Management. Like Charmaine, I'm across Citipower, Powercor and United Energy, and I get involved in sort of non-traditional network projects. So, there might be all to do with getting ready for renewables and the transition. So batteries, I've been involved in the implementation of our backstop mechanism for solar, done a lot of stakeholder engagement, external work, conversations with government.
Awesome.
And ended up sort of in the program manager role, like pulling together, the customer side, the IT side, the engineering side, as we delivered this project.
Wowee. I'm impressed.
Good stuff. All right. Well, so main reason we've got you guys in is there's been the rollout of the emergency backstop mechanism in Victoria. So you guys have been all over that.
Yes, to say the least.
Yeah. I'm assuming that's sort of what you've been. So that you mentioned the project. That's the project you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a fair bit of obviously there's a fair bit of resource that's going into it at the moment. Lauren, you've been really involved in a lot of this sort of from the start. Well, not necessarily from the start. When did you start getting involved in it, Lauren? Is it when things started getting a little bit difficult for installers? Is that sort of when you were sort of pulled in and to help out?
Definitely. I think we obviously work in the builder market, and we thought it was going to affect us quite heavily, and it has, especially because when we do our installs, there is most likely 9 times out of 10 there's going to be no Wi-Fi. And I just thought, how the hell is this going to work?
Remember we spoke about this in our episode last year?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, how the hell is this going to work?
Yeah.
And every single house these days has solar, so it's it has hit us pretty hard, but we're working through it, which is good.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, well, so has this been a difficult time for you guys? Like, as you've been working at it for a little while, there's been a lot of, like, from where we sit in the industry, it's been a difficult time for a lot of installers being able to adapt in the way this has all sort of been rolled out. I think the difficult thing for them is what they've been sort of left to be able to pick. Well, they feel like they've been able to pick the pieces up. Is that, like, how are you guys feeling about the way the project's gone and where you're at and all that sort of stuff at the moment?
So I think it's this has been a new project, brand new technology, everything for us as well.
Yep.
Obviously we have been involved, from this idea coming up.
Yep.
So this is all being driven by, the amount of, rooftop solar that's everybody's installing across the network, which is fantastic.
Yep.
But that leads to a situation which is known as minimum demand. So you get a mild sunny day, there's not a lot of load, and there's heaps of, uncontrolled generation.
So you're talking like you're basically talking about a sunny spring day when people don't have their aircons on.
Absolutely.
Is that
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's the situation. And every year there's more and more solar installed. So the minimum system load gets lower and lower and lower.
Yep.
So, South Australia were called to, implement an emergency backstop solution a few years ago. Then Victoria's came into effect last year. New South Wales is going to be this year. Queensland have a backstop mechanism as well. So it's just,
it's going to be nationwide.
It's nationwide.
Yeah, everyone's going to be doing
part of the, part of the network that we all live in and operate on. It's all going to be needed.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. So how's the implementation gone from you guys' point of view so far? Like, it's been a rocky road? Is it on track? What do you reckon?
We're very acknowledge that it has been a challenging implementation.
Yeah, for you guys as well. Like, it's just for installers, it has been. And OEMs, but has it been hard for you guys too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, new technology, new system, dealing with, under pressure to get everything to work. We had a very short deadline with which to install this. So the order came into effect, was gazetted in January last year.
Yep.
And we needed to have backstop mechanism in place by the 1st of July. So we're working, with a 5-month time frame.
You're talking last year?
Wow.
Last year.
Yeah.
So we knew it was coming. We'd already started designing it and everything like that, but it wasn't until the order was gazetted where we saw, what the final requirements were. So we were, pushing ahead, adapting our portal to be able to respond to the new requirements, building all the IT systems in the background. And after, a couple of months after the order was gazetted, we realised that we weren't going to be ready by the 1st of July.
Yep.
So we sought an extension from the government. And the government, ended up granting us a 3-month extension. So we had until the 1st of October to do it. And I think that extension was granted very near the end of June. So, so it took a while. Then come 1st of October, like new system, we go in. But what we've found is that it was all of Victoria from the 1st of October. So there's no little trial. We'll just start here and we'll gradually slowly build. It's sort of coming in at a certain volume and rate, and it's been very, very steady.
Yep.
So what we've seen is the system has had to keep up with the number of, sites that we're all connecting, and, perfectly happy to say it has struggled. We have had times where, our system has not performed, and, that's been really frustrating for us.
Yep.
We can fully imagine how frustrating it is for installers who have to, connect the sites to our system and conduct capability testing. And when our system's not working, it's really, really frustrating for us. And we ensure it's very frustrating for them as well.
Yeah. And my team have been, obviously taking those calls. And so it's been challenging for them. But obviously we completely emphasise with how impactful this has been on the installers.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, our call volumes have pretty much doubled since the implementation of Backstop. So, yeah.
Can I just ask, do you know, so obviously it wasn't up to you guys to not have a pilot. Do you know what's behind that? Why was there no pilot period for this? Should we be asking Deaker that or AEMO? Do you know why that hasn't? I don't want you to say anything you shouldn't be saying, but do you know?
Why there wasn't a pilot? We're not sure. So the emergency backstop mechanism is one of the tools that we have for managing excess generation on the network. So we're all aware that minimum system load was going to be a problem. And so we have a number of other tools or levers that we can pull in order to take action to keep the network secure. I think it probably just came down to a timing thing with the Australian Energy Market Operator requiring states to implement a backstop mechanism, within a certain time frame. like our backstop mechanism has been in play for about 6 months now.
Yep.
And it builds capability incrementally. So it's not like on day one, instantly we've got 200 megawatts under control across the
Yeah,
network.
sure.
So it's a capability that we need to get in so that in a couple of years' time, we have 300, 400 megawatts under control, and we can actually provide a meaningful response to when we need to for minimum system load events.
Interesting. I'm just wondering, like, something on this sort of just dawned on me. So you guys weren't ready at the 1st of July last year, and that's why you requested the extension?
Correct.
So industry, when we talk industry, we're talking about installers and OEMs. They weren't ready either, right? Do you reckon it was because you guys sort of took up that any grace period with not being ready, that then at the top they've sort of said, no, we've got to roll this out and there's no grace for installers? Because I know a lot of installers were not ready for this, and I feel like the industry consultation sort of wasn't really there. So do you reckon it's because it's just the push from the top to actually get this implemented is why it was sort of rushed out to installers, and you guys were able to get that grace period of 3 months?
Well, I mean, we sought the grace period because our system wasn't going to be available in order to start these connections.
Yep.
So, the grace period was just to make sure that we had all the systems in place so that we could be ready to start building this capability. In terms of engagement and everything else like that, as soon as we had something to show, to try to give installers as much information as we could about what the process was going to look like with Backstop, we did that. So we set up an installers working group where we, explained what the new requirements were going to be and how we were designing it.
Mm-hmm. When was this, last year? Or was that this year?
No, last year.
Yeah, last year.
You're still doing that as well, I believe. Yeah, you guys are both going out with installers out on site and showing them through.
We have been.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we used our existing portal that Charmaine's team interact with to add in the new steps, which were registering the inverter and conducting the capability tests. So we tried to make the process as familiar as possible, albeit with the 2 new steps in there. Put out videos about it. That was some of the feedback we got from our installer working groups. Short, sharp videos are great for knowing what to do. But yeah, I mean, could there have been more communication, more information about what was going to happen? Absolutely. But I think looking back, with hindsight, you can always there always could have been more that could have been done.
Yeah.
But where we've implemented the system, we're continuing to work on it. It's certainly not a set and forget type thing. Make a number of changes to improve it, to improve the performance from our side, to make it easier for installers, and we're continuing to do that.
Okay, very good.
No, I agree. I mean, it's definitely getting better, and both your portals, I use them every day. I'm on them every day doing capability tests and registering inverters, and it has been really good to jump on those platforms, and the videos and even the PDFs and the fact sheets you guys both been sending out have been really good. So thank you for that.
And I think that was one of the reasons why we wanted to really push for that delay, because ultimately we were going to have to go manual, and we didn't want that for installers. This was going to be hard enough of a change as it was. So we wanted to make sure that we had that automated process there just to sort of make it, not as impactful.
Yeah. And even the live testing on both of your websites have been really good, because you can pinpoint the problem pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I've got installers out on site and I say, nope, it's failed on test number 2, and then give them a ring and they'll do this, and then it'll go through. And even like letting industry know. I remember that was one of the tests that you had to extend the time.
Yes.
I believe. Yeah. And then that just, all of them started flooded and going through. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
One of the things we noticed is that some of the devices just weren't responding within the time limits that we had set on our individual tests. So altering that timeout period meant that we were going to see more actually succeed, which was ultimately obviously what we all want. So yeah, we're making those incremental improvements as we go along. It's been a learning journey, and we're taking all the lessons learned and making sure that we continue to improve the system.
I think that perfectly leads into the next question is there any problematic OEMs that are just not working? I mean, on all these industry reference groups that we're on, certain
it's a really good question.
Yeah, certain brands are listed and it's like, I'm just not getting approval on this one, or it's just not registering. So do you know of any ones that are just problematic, aren't registering, not going through, not communicating or anything?
Well, we go through quite a process with all the OEMs as part of Backstop. So obviously all the OEMs that can connect to the network have to be on the CEC list.
Yep.
And then once they're on the CEC list, we've reached out to them to onboard them on with our system. So that's where we, make sure they can talk to each other. When we send them a control, it responds accordingly.
Yep.
This required a lot of engagement between our technical teams and between the
And
OEM
theirs.
teams as well.
Yeah.
Everybody has limited resources. So in the lead up to Backstop, we engaged with as many OEMs as we could and prioritized the ones that had, the greatest volumes installed on
course.
our network. So I think when we went live on 1st of October, I think we covered about approximately 85% of the inverter models that are out
Nice.
there. We're now into the 90s. So, the list keeps changing every day.
Of course.
As, new OEMs come onto the list, we have to work with them and get them on board as well.
Yep.
We publish the list of approved OEMs on our website.
Mhm.
So that's probably the best resource to go to if you want to know if a product is approved
Yep.
and should work with our system. That's where you go.
Is that
Amazing.
that's different to the CC list, is it?
Yeah. So
I was just going to say that, that list is what's been approved.
Mhm.
And as Andrew mentioned, that's the devices and OEMs that have gone through, I guess, the process to onboard with our network.
Mm.
So that's probably the best sort of resource to be using to making sure that you're using approved devices that are already registered with our network.
Do you guys work with the CC at all? Like with comparing, not so much comparing lists, but working with what's on the list? Or, do you consult with them at all?
So our system draws the information
Yep.
from the CEC list, and if a
Cool.
device were to fall off the CEC
Okay,
list,
yep.
it would
Yep.
fall
Someone
off
would know.
being
Yeah.
eligible for our
Okay, so if it's not on the CC list, then it can't be on your list.
Yeah. So
Correct.
when
Yep.
you're in
Makes sense.
our portals, it
Yep.
essentially will be pulling the CEC data. And so if something's not on the CEC list, it actually won't show on our portal.
Mm.
Everything talks to everything
Yeah,
these
that's
days.
right.
does. It's all very interconnected.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Very good. All right. Next question. Do you want to go, Lauren, or should I go?
No, you go. Sorry, my audio's just gone a bit funny.
All right, you're good. All right. I want to ask. This is one of this is one of the questions that I really want to know the answer to, and I've asked it in other podcasts. Just discussions between me and Lauren, and I've asked a lot of people in the industry. So, with knowing what the DNSP setup is in Victoria, and you guys don't really have all of that much. I'm not saying you don't have any contact, but with let's say homeowners or business owners, because you don't send them bills, right? That's sort of what I'm getting at. So with that, keeping that in mind, what's the motivation for you guys to not stuff this up? Because they're not your customers. I'm not saying that you don't have any interaction with them, but they can't move. If they want to move DNSPs, they've got to move house. That's sort of what I'm saying. So is there a motivation for you guys to get this right, or because of the sort of monopoly that you have, is there a lack of motivation?
Okay. So let me comment on the customers first.
Yep.
So, we have almost 2 million customers connected to all
So
our
you do
three
call them,
networks.
you call them customers, do you?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Even though they
Absolutely.
don't pay bills to you, they're not. Are they your customer? Are they really?
So just because we don't send them a bill doesn't mean we don't interact with our customers. So if
Yeah,
the
okay.
power goes off, whether it's for a fault or for in a planned situation,
Mhm.
we are responsible for getting those customers back on supply,
Mhm.
and we take that job very, very seriously.
Okay.
We're also, are regulated to do that
Okay.
as well.
Who are you regulated by to do that?
Oh, how long have you got?
Okay.
And, so
Fair
many
enough.
different regulators.
Okay, sure.
Probably the essential services
Yep.
commission, really.
Yep.
Yep.
As far as customers go. So,
Okay.
Charmaine's team is in our customer group.
Yep.
So we consider ourselves a very customer-centric organisation, and being customer and community-minded is one of our core values.
Mhm.
So we really do care about our customers.
Yep.
So I just want to be completely clear about that.
Sure.
In terms of incentives to get this right,
Mhm.
we discussed just before that, we're very heavily regulated.
Yep.
So this requirement for Backstop that we cannot connect a new or altered system unless it's Backstop enabled
Yep.
is one of our license obligations. So if we don't do that, the worst case scenario is we would lose our license to be a distribution network service provider.
Mhm.
Somebody else would have to take over the business. That's one extreme.
Well,
Okay.
Anywhere in
That
between.
would be
Yeah,
very
that is
extreme.
intense.
That's a
Wow.
worst case scenario, like God's
Yeah.
coming in.
Yeah.
Then there's, a range of fines the ESC can impose on us
Okay.
if they determine that we have breached one of our license obligations, and those
And
fines
is
could
that-
be 6-7 figures.
ESC, sorry, that's
Whoa.
Essential Services
Essential
Commission.
Services Commission.
Yep.
Yes,
Sorry, did you say 6 or 7 figures potentially?
absolutely.
Okay, that's a fair incentive.
Yep. So,
That makes me feel a bit better.
are we incentivized to do this? Like, your business could get taken away, you could receive extremely large fines,
Mhm.
and, we're doing this so that all our customers can continue to install solar and do all that. So,
Okay.
yes.
I'm
we-
glad that's out there because I've spoken to a couple of industry people who are quite respected, and I've asked them that question, and they just kind of laughed and thought, well, they don't really have an incentive, but you've actually outlaid that there.
I'm very happy to shed the light on that.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got like 375,000 residential solar customers, and
Yeah.
my team are interacting with the end homeowners on a daily basis. So, and everything that we do, I guess, to make improvements for installers is ultimately to deliver for that end
Mm.
customer. So they're definitely at the forefront of all that we're doing, and we want to make this right because if installers are finding this challenging, then we're ultimately impacting our customers, and we should be working together, and they're both our mutual customers, and that's the end goal, really.
And I actually can back onto that one. We're actually going through a service case at the moment, not Backstop. This is quite an old system, and the inverter and the battery has been switched off, and they actually got a message from United saying something along the lines of your system's not exporting, type of thing. And I'm like, wow, that's actually really cool. He sent me a screenshot, and I said, yeah, that would make sense because we've left your system off. It's not safe, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's the stuff, I guess, that we've tried to deliver above and beyond what the order sort of held us to. So making sure that customers are aware if they're not exporting or
Yeah.
if their connection drops out as well. So
which is that's actually really good because what happens now, there is obviously a lot of installers out there that are just making their sites Backstop exempt because they've chucked it in the too hard
Yep.
basket.
Yep.
So does that mean if their solar is registered, they would be receiving, or the customer would be receiving that message eventually?
So it depends on how the installer goes about it. But if they're, I guess, selecting the no internet option,
Yep.
then they will obviously not be connected to our server. But the ask is that they've obviously got to set their export to 0.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we've done some analysis, and 70% of those sites aren't complying with that 0 kilowatt export, so they're exporting aneway.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you guys do about that?
Yeah, what
do you let them
happens?
know, or do you? I don't know. I'm assuming you don't just send them a fine straight away or anything like that. Like there'd be a process with that
Yeah.
when you find
Yeah,
out.
so we don't issue fines or anything like that. We don't have a mechanism to issue penalties. We're in the
Okay.
process of looking through the data now to sort of see, how big of an issue this is. One of the things that we are looking at doing, and this will come in the near future, is setting up sort of a compliance framework, probably very similar to, I guess, the South Australia Power Network one, where they've got sort of a 3-step threshold that installers have to comply with, and where they sort of don't meet that compliance threshold, we'll give warnings,
Yep.
but then ultimately we'll have to block them from the network if they fall below that threshold and don't rectify the compliance issues.
Wow.
Compliance has sort of always been a tough one, I guess, in the solar industry. It's definitely always been a problem. I think, that there's probably a lot of installers out there now that aren't even, and, when we hear this anecdotally from installers as well, is that they're just not even submitting applications. So
I've definitely heard that.
yeah. And it's going to be a problem. Ultimately, it impacts more customers from being able to connect to the network, and that's not what we want. So compliance is something that definitely has to be addressed.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've spoken about this, haven't we? Like about how that will be sort of addressed. Is that up to you guys to do that? Like you're saying you can't issue fines. Can you pass information on to potentially government departments who can issue fines? Can you do that?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think what we're going to have to do is that we're going to have to, once we've got the data, I think we're going to have to share that.
Yep.
Ultimately, who's responsible? That's a great question. It's probably something for government and regulators to decide.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because we've sort of spoken about this where once all this sort of gets sorted out and things settle a bit more and everyone knows sort of what they're doing, there's going to be a time where compliance is going to be a big part of this.
Yeah.
Like people are going to have to get it done right. And yeah, we were sort of wondering what sort of mechanisms could be in place. And you mentioned about locking them out of the network. Do you mean like locking out the installers from being able to submit paperwork, or locking them out from the portal, or
Yeah,
is that what you're talking
it'd
about?
be the portal. So it'd ultimately be that they wouldn't actually be approved to get their
Yeah.
solar pre-approval from our network. So
Yep.
in
Because you-
theory, they shouldn't be.
You've got to put in A numbers, like electrical license numbers.
Yeah,
so
that's right. Exactly.
you
So
don't have
it'd be
that.
tied to
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So, well, that's a good, like, for any installers that are listening to this and who are just going for that, well, didn't know.
Too hard basket.
Yeah, the
I'm
too
just not
hard
gonna
basket.
do
Go,
it.
yeah, not going to do it, and I'm just not going to zero export it and follow by the rules anyway. Yeah, they're going to get found out. It may not
Yeah.
be for a little while, because it sounds like that's not exactly the focus right at the moment, but it's going to be in the future.
Yeah.
It's going to be something you guys are going to be looking at.
And I think that's the thing that we recognise, is that we need to take that time to make sure we get this right first.
Yeah.
You know, we need to go through the process, apply the learnings that we've got, make sure
Mm.
that installers are comfortable with the change in requirements, processes. We've got to get our system, you know, more stable and
running first, yeah.
reliable. And then the compliance aspect comes after the
Yeah.
fact.
Because I could just see some installers going, well, your system
Yeah,
should work
that's
from
right.
the beginning,
Exactly.
so I'm
Yeah.
not going to do anything about it. So yeah,
Yeah.
you got to get your
Yeah.
ducks in a row.
Yeah, that's right.
If people are going around the process, whether that's because they find Backstop's too hard, or they just can't be bothered, or anything else like that, that actually hurts everybody who does follow the
Yeah,
process.
exactly right.
So, we're building this capability so that when we need to, we can, flick a switch and keep the lights on. It's
Yeah.
kind of ironic, but
Mm.
so that all works. So
It
the
is
more-
actually.
the more solars that's out there
Mm.
that's uncontrolled, or that we don't know about, just means that, everybody else is impacted.
How much do you reckon is out there that's
Oh,
unaccounted
that
for?
was my
stop it.
question. That was my question.
So I guess we only have
Sorry, Lauren.
Great minds.
we only have visibility of what we can see. So it's a little difficult to guess.
Mm.
Through the emergency backstop reference group, which Charmaine and I are both part of, Deca have just started comparing numbers from SolarVic with all the numbers from the DNSPs, and looking at the delta between that, and trying to work out how many sites are out there that we don't know about. How big a problem is this? Which is the $1 million question.
Yeah.
So,
The tricky thing is that some could just be going through the motions of the process, so it's hard to really get down to what that exact number is. But yeah, having that data, I think, would be a good thing to sort of bring that to light.
Mm.
That'll be interesting. I wonder if you're allowed to share that.
Mm.
Probably not, but if you are, I would love to see that.
it might be a question for Deca.
Yeah, fair enough.
But the other thing as well is, like, solar installers have reached out, and the ones that are doing the right thing, they actually want to see these, compliance frameworks
Mhm.
stood up. So it's really, really good to see that we've got the backing of those installers that are wanting to
Yeah.
do the right thing and make sure that those aren't are held to account.
Yeah. Well, I think looking back when it was first implemented in October and November, even December, it was pretty rough time. I mean, I've said it before. I had a customer actually report me to Consumer Affairs because they said that I installed a system and they wanted me to come rip it down off their roof because it wasn't working,
Unreal.
which was pretty funny. And you don't really take those things lightly when
No.
something gets put on us in a business. So who takes responsibility for that? Because I know there was a lot of where like customers don't go to DNSPs and go, you didn't install my solar system right, it's not working. And when things were quite tough in the first couple of months, now they are getting better. But how do you refer that? I mean, I can't just go, oh, actually, no, it's DNSP fault because I'm the one that's directly dealing with the customer and I know things weren't in place at the start. But how do you get around that? Have you had any other cases or any other things happen like that where retailers are getting in trouble? And
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one because I think we've all sort of got a role to play in this, and I
Mhm.
think it's hard to sort of just, I guess, throw the issue onto one stakeholder group. I
Mhm.
think this changing process requires everyone to play their part and work together.
yeah,
And I think we've all sort of learned lessons along the way, right? Like installers at the very beginning, we know that there was a lot of installs where export meters just weren't being put in, or
correctly, yeah.
CTs were being wired the incorrect way, and that was a huge issue.
Yeah.
It's starting to get better now. And then manufacturers, obviously, they've got to make sure that they're providing the right information to installers around what is a compatible device. So not referring to the DNSP approved listings is going to result in a customer ultimately getting a installation where it can't actually connect to our network because we just don't have that capability. So we've had to do what we've had to do to make sure that we meet the compliance and obligation of the ministerial order. And yeah, I think it's been challenging, but I think the key thing is really around everyone just working together. I don't see it as a benefit for anyone to blame anyone. I think we've all got a role to play, and unless we all work together, it's not going to be successful. There's so many dependencies in this backstop regime. You're relying on internet, which is hard enough on itself. But installers have to be getting that installation correct. Manufacturers have to be providing the right advice, making sure their manuals are really, really clear on how their requirements are for, settings to inverters and communication devices. And we need to make sure that we're supporting installers through the journey and that our system's reliable.
Have you had any manufacturers that have like not really had that in their instructions or whatever it is to be able to work with you guys? Like, has there been ones where you've had to, tell them to sharpen up their install manual or anything like that? Is it?
So I think we've actually had really, really great relationships with the OEMs. We've got a dedicated team working directly with manufacturers. So our technical support team have chats, have weekly meetings. So we're working really, really closely to make sure that we all enhance our materials and we get this right. I did do a site visit. I think it was at the start of this year. And it wasn't that the manual wasn't correct. It just only went through, one type of model or one type of size for the inverter. So if they were installing a larger system, there was a little bit of discrepancy. But I think that's the stuff that we're then able to feed back to the manufacturers, and they've actually done a really, really great job in making sure that they then go and rectify those issues. So
they've been working. It's been reciprocated. They've been working with you guys and understand how important this is for their products and for your network and for everyone.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yep.
And our information and troubleshooting guide was put together, with their help, and we have shared that with them so that they know what error messages we're seeing and what advice we're giving to installers, so we can all work together to diagnose whatever might be preventing a system from passing.
Very good. All right. I reckon we're just about time for our first break. What do you reckon, Lauren? Good start?
So.
Good start?
Yeah, really good start. I feel way lighter.
Yeah. I do too, actually.
It's good.
Hope we haven't been too harsh so far. No. All right. No, we'll go to our first break and we will be right back in just a few moments.
Hey solar installers, struggling to keep up with CPD requirements? At Southwell Solar Training, we're here to make it simple. Our online courses are designed to give you the knowledge you need without the sales pitch. With an affordable subscription, you'll unlock access to our growing library of technical courses, covering everything from inspecting older systems to spotting installation defects. Learn at your own pace, earn CPD points, and stay ahead in the industry. Join us today and start learning smarter, not harder. Visit www.southwellsolartraining.com.au and get your CPD the easy and affordable way.
And we are back. We had a quick little break. We've all gone and put on some jumpers because it's freezing in here.
I don't know what's going on with the aircon in this place.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever had to chuck that on, but we're back. It's all right. We're good to go. All right. So I think one of the $1 million questions, and it has come up a lot when we've been speaking to people, RE Backstop, is how South Australia rolled it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seems to be a bit different, doesn't it?
Yes. I believe they were rolling it out via postcodes. And like we just said before, they were able to control a small group at a time. So could we have learnt better, or could we have done things differently in Victoria?
Let's hear this one.
Well, let's go through how South Australia rolled out Backstop. Obviously, this was in response to the event back in 2016 when they isolated from the network unintentionally. So South Australia, I think, were the first state to have a backstop requirement in Australia. That came in September 2020. But they didn't use the solution that they're rolling out now, or that we're rolling out in Victoria, or have rolled out. So their first solution was, a rather crude on or off on the generation. It went through a third party, and what would have to happen is if there was a minimum system load coming, they would have to go through the third parties to switch off generation.
That's it. Sorry, that's how it used to be.
That's
Is that
how
right?
It used to be.
Yep.
And some sites may still have that. But then South Australia knew that they were going to be introducing dynamic exports or flexible exports, but that wasn't ready in time for this 2020 requirement. So they did a trial. I think they might have had 100 or 200 in a trial, and then they were going to start gradually rolling out flexible exports across the state. So I think that was due to start in July 2022. They ended up pushing it to the end of the year, and then again another. So I think they started rolling it out from July 2023. But they were in control of the speed at which they rolled that out. That's SA Power Networks were in control of that, as far as you know. Well, working in conjunction with their equivalent of their state government, the OTR they have over there. So they rolled it out incrementally, only available to certain postcodes in the beginning. And I think that enabled them to gradually grow the number of connections they had while they worked out any, bugs with the system, bugs that we've seen as we've recorded a very steady increase of customers. So South Australia, I think it took them about 12 months under their flexible exports program to get to 5,000 connections. I think at our last count, we're at 10,000.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. Where you guys are? Is that together?
Yeah, that's with all three networks. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think a couple of the key benefits South Australia had, looking back on this now, so a more time and a staged rollout were probably two of the, advantages that they had.
More time implementation? Yep. Okay.
But they were rolling out flexible exports. It wasn't, you must do this now for emergency backstop. And while they use that system now as their emergency backstop as they rolled it out, they also had the other fallback backstop through a third party.
So I guess we just didn't have enough notice, really.
Well, you could say that.
Yeah, that's difficult.
And being able to, I guess, incrementally roll things out is always going to,
run smoothly.
Be a better outcome. Yeah. That's right. It gives you that time to fix the challenges that you're sort of facing, learn the lessons along the way, and then, fix that and then roll it out to the next group people.
Yeah. Often use the analogy we're building track as the train's flying.
Yeah.
just trying to stay with enough track ahead.
That's right.
How do we it's a bit hard for us to know. I don't know. Do you do inspections in New South? Obviously, in New South Wales. Like, are you allowed to go up there and do that?
No, I'm not really. Well,
have you got?
They don't do them, so yeah, I can.
Oh,
I can do them. I can do them because anyone can.
Okay, so how do we? I know more New South Wales. They're obviously about to start rolling their ones out, or it's going to be quite soon. It's going to come into play. How do we? I mean, you guys probably can't answer this question, but what happens for those installers working on the border that go between both? I mean, how is it going to work up there? I'm a bit confused. Do you have any idea how it would work up there? Are they going to learn from us, SA?
Well, I'm sure our government's been sharing information with the New South Wales government. We have had a couple of sessions with the New South Wales DNSPs. So maybe with the benefit of hindsight, looking back on, how our experience has been with the rollout and, and what advice we'd give them. So one of the things that we have heard, on the podcast from industry, everybody is, that around the crucialness of engagement, as much engagement as you can do up front. And that was certainly something we shared with them. And we've seen, through all the media articles that, they've taken that on board. They're certainly socializing that with industry. They're explaining to them, what they're introducing and why, and giving them some involvement in that process. As they build a system.
Yeah. I think there was a recent article I saw about the SEIA, New South Wales one. That they were obviously happy that they had that sort of that engagement. We're asked to able to ask, I guess, the questions and all of that. So it's good to see that they're taking those learnings on, and hopefully it's a smoother rollout.
I hope so. Well, it's also like one of the other benefits I want to mention is about SA Power Networks is they've got the one network, right?
Yes.
And so that's a huge benefit for the rollout and the implementation and for the ease of installers to know only one network and what to do. New South Wales is in a similar boat to Victoria. We've got 3 DNSPs. So we've got Endeavour, Essential and
Ausgrid.
Ausgrid as well.
And the ACT one.
And the ACT. Good. That's a good one too. Yeah. So that's another one as well. Do you know what's happening there? What are they doing? I haven't heard anything about them actually.
So what I've seen with the New South Wales plan is the government is going to develop a portal that all installers will, apply through, like our portal.
Yep.
And that portal will interface then with all the various distribution network service providers' portals. So
Okay.
from an installer experience, I guess there's one consistent portal to go through, which helps with consistency. But then there's, in the back end, there's additional interfaces between systems and things like that.
That would be cool for us.
So
I would love that.
I was about to say, is
Yeah.
that something you guys considered, like joining up with the other DNSPs to have the one portal, or is it just was that too hard, or?
I think at the speed that we were operating,
Oh, of
it would
course.
have- it would have been.
Has anyone
troublesome.
slept at your
No,
organisation?
no.
But also like separate businesses, and this mechanism is being built for network security. And when we have to push the big red button, that's done through our control rooms. And so our control rooms are quite rightly very secure, separate. They look after our network, so it just wasn't going to be practical to have a single system shared between all the
Consortium.
I mean, IT systems are problematic as it is,
Anywhere.
like without all those interfaces into different systems, and who then takes accountability of that portal and all of that. So I think it will have its own challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds great in theory. Everyone wants alignment, but I think it will have its own challenges.
I really hope New South develops something like your portals, because they are very easy to use, quite clear, and that would be good.
Yeah, and we've definitely made note that we're very much happy to help and happy to give them insight into what we've done. So
That's good.
But that's great to hear that our portals
Yes.
are
Yes.
meeting your expectations. That's
Yes,
excellent.
they're really good.
We don't get lots of positive
No.
feedback. So
There you go. No, I love it. It's very easy to use.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you want it to. Yeah, you want to not hear about that sort of stuff, don't you? Like, usually if you're not hearing anything, it's going well. It's like the umpire of a footy game.
Yeah.
If you don't notice them, they're doing well.
Yeah, I use that analogy.
There you go. It's a good analogy, that one.
Very good.
Very good analogy. Yeah. So, any other DNSPs around the country you've worked with, or consulted, or they've consulted with you about, we've looked at what's happening in Victoria, and we want to make sure that we're all over all the lessons that they've learnt and those type of things. Have you had any other ones,
I think
like Energy Queensland or anyone?
I think especially our technical SMEs, are involved in a lot of inter DNSP forums and bodies and do share information. I'm not super familiar with Queensland's situation in terms of minimum demand and how they've implemented a backstop myself, but I think it's only over 10 kilowatt systems.
Yeah, that's my understanding too.
I think they've avoided sort of the very small the smaller typical residential ones. That's all I've got on Queensland.
I think they've got the ripple control for their backstop mechanism, which has been in place for a while. My understanding. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be someone from Queensland who'll contact me and correct me on that. But yeah, that's my understanding. That's what they've got. Yeah. Okay. All right. So so you do speak to them a little bit, and there's different parts of the technical departments who you all talk to each other. And yeah. Okay. Imagine if it was like the one network in Australia. Imagine that.
So simple.
Gets me excited.
Do you guys wish that? Like, we had the SEC back in the 90s before, Lauren was even born.
I love it.
but that's the way. It used to just be a government department, and that you get your bill off the SEC, and they look after the poles and the wires and everything.
I thought they brought the SEC back.
Oh, well, they had. Well, that's true. They have. But in its old form, like, do you reckon that'd be? If you I don't know, let's go back 30 years, and you go, all right, well, Kenneth's not going to shut it down or whatever, sell it off, whatever it is. We're going to keep the same model, and we're going to evolve that way.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm older than I'm younger than I look. I don't remember the I mean, we all really enjoy where we work. I think, looking back over 25 years, I think, that we've been able to demonstrate that, particularly, our business, privatization has been good for customers.
Yeah.
And everything else like that. I guess,
Hard to
times
know.
may change. It may go back. It may go back again. History keeps repeating. Who knows?
Yeah. No, fair enough. All right. Well, let's move on to the next topic. Ready to go to the next topic, Lauren?
Yep, let's do
All right. So, what sort of this is probably more for Charmaine. What sort of feedback are you getting from installers and designers, like, on the ground, about how this is all going? Like, we've heard all the negative stories and that sort of stuff. Like, we probably tend to focus on that a little bit. I'm sure there's some good stories as well. But what are you hearing from installers on the ground when you speak to them?
I think installers are just, they've been frustrated, I guess, by how challenging this has been.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest challenges is obviously going through the capability testing, just because it can be time consuming. It's obviously led to a lot of installers having to do repeat visits, which is obviously frustrating. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that's come out. And, and one thing that we did was we went out and started doing site visits. And that's been really, really beneficial for us to get a lot of learning around how hard it can be. And I guess the challenges that are occurring out on site. So we've learned a lot from that, but equally being able to share a lot of knowledge as well. So I think the thing is that, and I think I mentioned this before, there's just so many dependencies that you have to get right to be able to pass the test.
There's a lot, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah.
There is. So we totally understand how hard this is, and we really do emphasise with, how this is changing the industry. But I think it's around, installers just making sure that installation is done correctly, that the internet's set up and connected, and that they're utilising the manufacturers for support as well. One of the things is a lot of calls obviously come through to my team when tests fail, but we also want to put the message out there that it's a really good thing to obviously contact the manufacturer as well, because they've actually got a lot more detail on their end than we do.
Yep.
So they can really get down to the specifics of, what's like if a CT's wired the wrong way.
Yeah.
We've got sort of limited information, so they can see a lot more through their portals. So they're another great source to reach out to and make sure that they're there to support as well, and that they can give that guidance. But obviously, we're always here as well. And I think the site visits have definitely, given us some really, really good insights on what improvements we need to make to our system. So, for example, one of the sites that I went out to, we the installer attempted the test, I think it was 2 or 3 times, and it had failed the first 2 times. The third time it passed, so nothing was obviously wrong with the installation, but obviously it was resulting in that failure because of that timing duration around the
that
test.
happened before.
So that was one of the lessons that we're able to go straight back to our IT departments on and say we need to get this fixed because it's not good enough. We don't want installers out there having to, sit there and test multiple times when they've obviously done things perfectly out on site. So they're the kind of learnings that we're really trying to get, and we really encourage installers to reach out to our teams. Like, we're here to support and help, and I think the better that we can educate, the more chance we've got to get to a smooth rollout, I guess. We're happy to go out to site visits if anyone's interested. Happy to share knowledge, help and support everyone.
Awesome. Because I know there definitely is a lot of people that have thrown this in the too hard basket and gone, it hasn't worked and I'm going to go address this when everything's working correctly.
Yep.
So how do you target those people that have gone, too hard, it hasn't worked from the start?
And it's been challenging, but we've gone through some of our data and been able to sort of start to pinpoint, I guess, those installers.
Yep.
And one thing we've done is try to reach out to those installers and speak to them to offer support.
Awesome.
I've had one installer in particular that what we saw was a trend of them setting the no internet. And it was happening on pretty much every application. So you sort of know that that's sort of their get out of this sort of
that's their
tactic.
thing.
Yep.
That's funny you say that.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick your brain after this.
And then it's like, you start to ask questions as well, like, are these installers letting the customers know that then their technical got to be on zero export as well? So, I called that particular installer and, and they were like, well, it's too hard. I did try, go through the capability test. It's failed multiple times. I don't want to do this. Like, this is what I'll be doing from here on. And I guess being able to talk them through it, being able to sort of say, well, if you need help, I'll help guide you through that process and we can work together through this.
Yeah.
It's gone a long way. And, it was only the other day that installer was able to get one through by themselves. And, they were so happy. It makes me honestly happy that, we're able to improve things together. And, we don't want to see any customers sort of left on 0 kilowatt export when they didn't need to be just because the installer's having trouble. So the best thing an installer can do is to reach out and ask for that help and support.
Awesome. And where can people go for that help?
So they can come straight through to my team. So, they can contact us via email. So we're newenergyservices@powercor.com.au or newenergyservices@ue.com.au.
Awesome.
Call us.
We'll chuck that in.
Yep.
It's so funny you say that about the Wi-Fi, because this is my domain. So we predominantly work with builders, and we do our installations in 2 stages. So we got stage 1, once the roof's up, scaffold or guardrails up, we'll go in and run the cables and chuck the panels on the roof, and then stage 2 at a later date.
Yeah.
So when we often do our stage 2 inverter installation, it's quite close to handover. It's pretty much when the garage door's on, so the inverter's in a safe place, and it's quite close to handover. Anyway, when we do our installations, there's no Wi-Fi. So I toyed around with that idea, going, well, how about I just make every single site Wi-Fi exempt and backstop exempt? But then how would that impact? Like, that would obviously impact the customer on the back end. Do they then have to go? Because I can still upload all our paperwork and do everything. So does the customer then have to go back to you and lodge a pre-approval? How does that work?
So
I've got so many cases. I've got like 40 or 50 cases where I've got the CESs, but I keep contacting the customer. Let me know when your Wi-Fi is connected. Let me know when your Wi-Fi is connected. But then on me, I'm like, well, how long can I follow up a customer to get their Wi-Fi connected? It's not a high priority. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, how do I go about this?
Yeah. So I think that's one option, is to obviously for yourself to be able to submit the application, you can go through that process of selecting no internet. The customer then would need to reapply.
Yep.
And go through that process, because we obviously still need to do the registration and capability testing.
And customers can do that?
No, would have to be done. So they can do the pre-approval, but not the alteration request. So that would require the installer to have to help that customer through that process.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just going to come back and land on my lap anyway. So I might as well just keep annoying people.
The other thing that we recommend is using hotspot, if that works as well.
We did try that, and we also set up some of our teams with little modems and found that some of the inverters weren't connecting to the modems or the hotspots. So it was some OEMs were and some weren't. So
it's definitely a challenge. I think if it can work via hotspot, then at least you can do the registration and capability testing. Once that hotspot's obviously gone, it will drop back to the low static limit of 0 kilowatts
in, and it's all done.
That's right. But as soon as that customer sets up their internet, it will kick straight back in, and they'll get their approved limit.
Even on a different server or a different network or anything. Yep. Okay.
You can still lodge all the paperwork. It's all good to go, and then they'll notify the retailer, and as soon as we'll leave, Wi-Fi's gone, drop back down, Wi-Fi's on. Happy days.
As long as the customer knows to connect their inverter to their Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Think of it like your smart TV. You've got to have it.
Oh no, I'm a psycho. I go onto all the inverter apps, and if I see they're all offline, I'll go every Tuesday and Thursday I'll email customers going, how's your Wi-Fi going? House is handed over. Right. I'll come back soon.
There's your problem. Charmaine, I'm interested. Like, what's a good time? I don't know if there is a good time. What's a good time to ring up if there's an issue? Like, is it, I don't know, do you get a flood of calls at 20 past 3 in the afternoon, or is it for 9 o'clock in the morning the best time? Like, have you got any?
So our phone lines are open 8 till 4.
Yep.
One of the things that we've done is made sure that when we went live with this, that we had enough resources to manage our phone calls and email inquiries. We knew this was never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
It was always going to, generate a lot more calls, and we were prepared for that. So I've got 20 people in my team that are dedicated to responding to the calls and emails, and we've got our contact center as well that's there. Look, we get calls all day. And as I think I mentioned it earlier, like the call volumes have dramatically increased. So we're getting double the calls that we were getting pre-1st of October.
Yep.
But I think my team has done really, really well in terms of, being able to respond to the calls. So wait times are fairly low on the phones.
Yep.
Obviously there's peak periods early in the morning, later in the afternoon, lunch times when installers have got that sort of time to call in. But we're able to get through all our phone calls. I think we've pretty much withheld responses within 24 to 48 hours via email as well.
Really good.
And I think it's so important to make sure that you get that aspect right. Like nobody, wants to have, responses not coming back, and people need help then and there. They don't want to have to wait, a week or two.
I know.
Because there's a customer at the end of that. So,
Shall we clear up that? Is there any good time to do a capability test? Because I know there's a lot of rumours to get on as soon as the sun comes up and this.
It's funny you actually mentioned that. Definitely when the sun's out.
Yes.
I think we've got like 800 tests that have been done like before 7 a.m. or after 8 p.m.
Wow. And I think that's what I've heard. Oh, I get on first thing in the morning when no one's online. I'm thinking, yeah, you and how many other people are doing that?
Yeah.
So no good time to do a test. Just jump on.
As long as the
whenever.
sun's out.
Yeah, look, I think 9 to 3 or probably 9 to 4 is probably a good time. But yeah, definitely don't do it at night time when the sun's not out.
Well, watch the squeeze those over the next few months, because as we get into shorter days, there's going to be a lot of people trying to get it in just before sunset, trying to do it at 4 p.m. or whatever.
Yeah. And that was one of the changes that we just recently made as well. We lowered that generation limit as part of our testing from 1,000 watts to 500 watts. And that's definitely an anticipation that winter's going to be more challenging. So it just means that, hopefully that will help more tests.
I think it will. When I do my test as an LEI, and I do, check the system's working to full capacity, sometimes you'd only get 600-700 watts on a system.
Yep.
And that's the most you can get. And you're like, well, I want to test it at more, but I can't make the sun come out anymore.
Right, exactly.
And there is a lot of small systems going out there.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was something we were hearing from installers as well, that they were finding that really difficult to reach that 1,000 watts when they had those smaller systems. So, yeah, hopefully we see that sort of improve our success rates.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's
Fingers
good.
crossed.
Yeah. I also wanted to make the point, just sort of stepping back a couple of times, with installers, I think it's really important we all sort of have empathy for what they're going through, because this part of it, this backstop thing and the issues they're having, this is just one thing for them that they're sort of dealing with. Becoming a solar installer is really hard. Yep. It's really difficult. It's not just this issue they're dealing with. They're dealing with SAA, they're dealing with the CEC list, they're dealing with ESB or whichever state they're in. They're trying to work through their STC regulated, STC aggregators, making sure that's all compliant, taking their selfies. It's just one thing after another. I reckon that's probably why it's been pretty, they've been sort of, I don't know, they've probably been coming for you guys a little bit, because it's just another thing on top of their already crazy workload. So anyway, I just wanted to shout out to solar installers. We know how hard it is. It's a very difficult job that you all are doing. So, anyway.
No, I don't think that's really good. No, I think it's a good point. I think, we've definitely had many conversations where, we really emphasize with what they're going through. And I think that's why, we do want to make this as easy as possible. We want to make sure that we get to a point where this just feels like the norm and everyone's familiar with the processes and the changes, and it's not, impacting people in the way that it is now, because it's been really, really tough. And I've spoken to many installers, and, some of the stories that you hear around the stuff that they're going through in terms of, customers obviously not being happy, and they take it out on the installer, and then the installer, can take it out even, on us. In terms of, my team have definitely had to manage some really difficult conversations. And that's probably one thing that I would note is that when you're calling in, people are talking to humans on the end of that phone. And so if we can all sort of work together and make sure that those conversations are respectful, because my team generally do really, really want to help. And I think there's many installers that are trying to absolutely do the right thing, but you've got a lot of installers that just want to throw the blame and make sure and not be 100% respectful when they're calling in. So,
and look, on the other side of that as well, has your team had to sort of play the counsellor role a bit sometimes?
Yeah.
I would think so. I know I definitely had to do that when I worked at the CEC, and we'd do tech support. People would call up and there'd be an issue like this or whatever it is. There's a problem with rebates. And we ended up being on the phone for half an hour, talking about their mental health and what they're going to do next. And we actually felt like counsellors. And it's actually, I won't say a burden, but it's something that sort of weighs down the people on the phone as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So your team's doing a hard job. Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
No, that's right. And that's one thing I've been really, really proud of. Whilst it has been tough, they've still shown up every day. They're still on the phones, making sure that they do navigate those tough conversations. And I think that sort of just proves the level of care that we've got. We know that it's tough for installers. We know that they're going through a lot, and we are there to listen and to support them.
Yeah. Do you ever give a bit back? You ever hear something and you give one back in the ribs?
That happen every now and then.
Stand out,
One of my old bosses once said, solar installers, you got to give them a cuddle and a kidney punch at the same time. and that's sort of just the way they roll.
Yeah, they can be a bit precious.
Yeah, a little bit precious, but then you know they've just got to every now and then you just got to
They'll
give it
be
back to
fine.
them, and they'll
Yeah.
No, that's all good. All right, cool. I think we're just about time for our second break. Yeah, all right. We'll come back and wrap it up, and we'll go through our last comments and all those sort of things. I think it's been really good so far. Education piece so far has been great. I think it's been really good for you guys as well, just to explain what's going on, what's happening. And I actually feel like I feel much better about the situation now, knowing you guys are out there talking about it, communicating. You probably have been doing it already a fair bit, but so far so good.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, all good. All right, well, let's go to our final break, and we'll be right back.
Hey solar installers, struggling to keep up with CPD requirements? At Southwell Solar Training, we're here to make it simple. Our online courses are designed to give you the knowledge you need without the sales pitch. With an affordable subscription, you'll unlock access to our growing library of technical courses, covering everything from inspecting older systems to spotting installation defects. Learn at your own pace, earn CPD points, and stay ahead in the industry. Join us today and start learning smarter, not harder. Visit www.southwellsolartraining.com.au and get your CPD the easy and affordable way.
Okay, and we're back for the final segment. All right, sort of regulated the temperature a little bit better now in here, I think, which is good. All right, so I wanted to sort of focus this last part on what you think the next, or the future's going to be. Let's start with sort of, I suppose, the 6 month. There was a bit of, when we started talking about this on our podcast, we thought maybe it would take sort of 6 months to sort of wrap this up, and that was a month or two ago. When I say wrap it up, I mean just get it to a place where everyone's a bit more comfortable with the implementation and everyone understands their role, and it's much more smooth. What do you guys reckon about that timeline, and what do you see the future of being with this?
Well, I think there's still a few more moving parts. One of the things that we're really hoping gets locked down inside the next 6 months is the finalisation of the order.
Yep.
So since that came out, there've been a few scenarios where, DECA have explained that's not how they intended Backstop to be applied. So we really need that finalised so we can, stop the manual workarounds that we've implemented and get our system all organised. We've touched on some of the changes we've made to our system, like increasing the capability time and lowering the generation limit. So we'll continue to make little tweaks to it to improve its performance. And then, this is going to be spring is sort of minimum system load season, if you like. So
oh yeah, so you got to. Of course it is.
So we might have our first minimum system load event. We'll test the system within the next 6 months. Which is why we're putting it in. So so very keen to see how it goes and what learnings we have from that. In fact, the revised order is going to contain a requirement for network-wide testing.
It is going to be interesting in winter to see how this goes out.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that when you talk about the what do you call it, minimum load event. Yeah. So you probably get a little bit of a taste of it because you guys are part of Northern Victoria as well. Northern Victoria, the weather's different to Melbourne, so you get much more sunny days, especially in wintertime. I'm gonna suggest that you're gonna get a bit of a taste for it in probably August, when places like, I don't know, Shepparton or Echuca, those sort of places, you could get the end of August, you could get a 28, 30 degree day potentially, bright sunshine. So you might get a bit of a taste for it then. Is that fair to say? Like, will you keep an eye on that? And
yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that before, but you're right. Like, that time of year, Northern Victoria is beautiful. I think up here somewhere doesn't, like, Cobram get more sunny days than Queensland.
Yeah, something like that.
So when we do, test the system, or even like we're called upon to use it for a real event, hopefully the sun will be shining, and we'll be able to see just how effective the backstop mechanism is. So yeah, certainly looking forward to, I guess, seeing the fruits of all our efforts.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I think that's probably the key thing that, that everyone wants to know, like, how long will this take for things to get to that point of it being okay, I guess. And I think 6 months is a realistic time frame. I think we're everyone's sort of well aware of what needs to change in order to get there. And I think everyone's really, really committed now to making sure that those changes are put into effect. You know, we've got the reference group now, the DECA have stood up. That sort of has all the key players around the table there. And I think that's the thing that was potentially missing from a government-led working group, is just having the right people around the table, making sure that we're actually listening to installers who are absolutely at the forefront of this. And, you know, they know it better than anyone. So I think the right people have a voice now, and hopefully we'll see that come through in the updated ministerial order as well. Like, we know legacy installations were obviously very, very topical, and that put a lot of strain on people. And, you know, it's really, really good to see that now we're on the right track of getting that cleared up with the updated order. But obviously all the DNSPs have implemented that exemption as well around legacies now that that's clear.
Is that going to stay like that? That's...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, we know that was a really, really tough one. We sort of were in a position where we weren't able to act until we got the green light from DECA.
That seemed really harsh for me, like that, because it's really hard to just put a system that's installed from 2012, 2013. It's just not capable.
Yeah, especially if it's working and perfectly fine. It's just additional cost to customers. So that was a really, really tough one. So we were very, very pleased once we got the green light that we could actually exempt those systems. And I think that just comes down to, you know, how the order was written, and obviously that all sites where there was an alteration had to come up to those compliance standards. So we had to operate within, obviously, those regulations, because we would ultimately be in breach. And hence why that order's now being sort of rewritten to make sure that that's all cleared up, and that we know what the intent is and what the policies are that we're working within.
Were you guys sitting back going, oh, this is a bit harsh, I don't know, I know we've got to do it, but hopefully it changes? Were you sort of sitting there?
Yeah, I think you know, we knew that we had to comply, but hearing the struggles from installers around what they were going through, it was tough, especially when sort of we couldn't do anything to help. Like, the only advice I could give at that time was to hold on to your application, wait, let's see how these conversations go, and as soon as we get that green light, we'll communicate it, which we did. And now we're sort of working through and getting those systems through our portal.
Just to add to that too, like, even though we are exempting legacy systems now and following the intent of the policy, we still have to report to the AER that we're in breach of the order. So that's a requirement. While we're in sort of this interim arrangement, we have to report this non-compliance, albeit it's going to be compliant, but until, you know, the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted.
Well, that's good. That's actually, it's good to know that your DNSPs have been held accountable as well. So that is good.
Self-reporting. Can you get fined for self-reporting? I don't think you could. Not on this one. Surely not. No, I don't think you're not going to lose your license to operate in the areas that you. I don't think you're going to lose that.
No, I would hope not.
No. Okay.
Just circling back, I know I can see you thinking part of your next question, but
no, I'm not.
So you know how you said 6 months isn't a realistic timeline. Now you've got people in the right places trying to help and whatnot. Who are these stakeholders? So are they in these reference groups? Like, are they installers? How many different stakeholders are involved in making this work?
Yes, I think you've got obviously the government in there. Yep. You've got the industry groups, and you've got OEM representatives and installer representatives, as well as DNSPs.
Yep.
So in that forum, there's a list of, you know, the top priorities that need to be addressed. And that sort of has been, I guess, put together based on all of the key stakeholders and what everyone feels the biggest challenges are. So, we're working through that one by one and making sure that we get to a point of resolution for each of those. So, I think,
awesome.
Having
I was just
mixture of
that was the answer.
the right stakeholders in there definitely goes a long way.
Cool.
Yeah.
And if people have, you know, issues that are impacting them or that they need to raise, that you can reach out to members of that group. So the Smart Energy Council and, I don't know if it's NECA or NECA. NECA. Yep. They are part of that group. So, you know, everybody has the ability to, you know, to raise issues or even, you know, go directly to other members to try to resolve them.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that we was suggested was prompting all new OEMs that come onto the CEC list to reach out to DNSPs to make sure they get onboarded. So
That would make
suggested
sense.
that to
Yeah.
the
That's a
CEC,
great idea.
and there we go. Doesn't have to be
Yeah.
a complicated idea. Just little simple things can make it just that little bit smoother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And shout out to the Smart Energy Council because they've been doing amazing work on Backstop.
Yeah.
I feel like they've been really engaging with their members, which are 90% of them are probably installers. And then obviously passing that information on to you. So that's awesome. Shout out to them.
Absolutely. They've been leading the way with a lot of the consultation with the industry on behalf of the installers
Yeah.
and smaller solar retailers. Been great. They've been really great. Like, can't thank them enough for their involvement. So thanks to John and all of his team, doing great work. All right. We're happy to go into final thoughts, final closing comments. Do you have any closing comments here for us? We'll start with you, Andrew.
Sure. Well, I mean, firstly, thank you for having us on. Like, we really appreciate the opportunity to come and, tell our side of the story, how, I guess this has been new for us too, but also hopefully demonstrate to all your listeners that, that we have been listening, and, we're very committed to making our backstop mechanism as efficient and as good as it can be. We have made a lot of improvements to it, and we will continue to make improvements to it, as we go. We certainly want to emphasise that this is we all need to collaborate on this. It's certainly not DNSPs versus industry. We all have a role to play. DNSPs, OEMs, installers, we're all trying to do this for our customers, to make sure everybody can connect solar and, take advantage of their energy bills in ways that they want to. So, just grateful for the opportunity. We're always happy to chat. Shout out to Charmaine's team. They are doing a fantastic job. I've seen some of the feedback they get. And it's not all complimentary, but they all manage to, to handle everything with courteousness and politeness. So, they're doing an awesome job. So,
Great.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, Charmaine.
Yeah, no, thank you both for having us on. It's been really, really great, I guess, to get our key messages across as well as listen to what the feedback is out there in the industry. I think that's really, really important. I think just recognising that, I guess, like we've said throughout this, we do generally really, really care and we want to see the success of this rollout come to light. And I think there is light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're already starting to see that, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Whilst we say 6 months, I think we're definitely seeing improvements, which is really, really good to see. We want to work together. I think I mentioned before, like, if anyone needs help, just reach out, because if we don't know about something, we can't help. And we had one application that we looked at and found that a particular installer had hit the trigger button 143 times for the test to go through, but had never reached out to us. So love their persistence. But, we've reached out to them now and we've been able to get that resolved. So we are here to help. And I think it's just really, really important that installers do reach out and ask for help.
Yeah, sounds like there's a fair bit of information out there now for them to be able to work on. And I think you guys have done webinars and that sort of stuff. Yeah. So are they available to still listen to for people? Like, are they?
Yeah, they're on our website.
They're on your website?
Yep.
Yeah. That's good. So if people who haven't engaged so far, we'll encourage them to do that. And there's a lot of information on your website about all of this.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. All right. Oh, well, we've come to the end, Lauren.
Yes, that was really good. Thank you both for coming on. I do really appreciate it. I know you guys reached out to us after our first, what was it? First episode? Yeah.
Season 2 for
I think
episode
it
1.
was our first episode that went out that was just pretty much all about Backstop. And then we had a Zoom, for people that don't know, we actually had a Zoom call and you both were on that Zoom call. I know Matt was also on there. There was a few other installers on there as well. So I do really appreciate you coming on to our side of the fence and just chatting with people and letting people know. So I will still continue to reach out to installers I know, and if there's problems, shoot them over to you.
Please
So
do.
just a reminder as well, if anyone doesn't want to go straight to these two lovely legends, they can still come to me as well, and I can be that conduit, I guess, to getting it sorted. So, and I have done that for a few of them. I just chuck on the industry groups, what's going on, how's everyone going with it, and they send me all the details, I send them to you. So we're all working together, which is the main thing. So thank you both.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that as well. Thank you very much for making the effort to come out. It's a big deal, I think, to come out, talk to industry, talk to us. I feel better about everything. Yeah, and I think it is a shared responsibility with all this for all of us to get this right. And the more we communicate about it and not put the blame, I think we're going to be able to solve problems much quicker, much easier.
Absolutely.
And we'll get to the goal we're all looking to get towards. So
It's coming.
yeah. All right, cool. Before we say goodbye, Lauren, we've got a lead into next week. We've got a busy period coming up with podcasts. So before Easter, so we'll both be on the road next week in Sydney.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you look forward to that?
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun couple of days. I'm sure it's going to be pretty jam-packed catching up with everyone. Roaming podcast, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing yet.
Who
We'll just
knows?
wing it. I reckon we just get up there and just work
Yes.
it out, and we'll just wing it.
Yep. For those that listened last week, Pat and I did a podcast, and it was really difficult to do it over the phone.
It was hard, wasn't it? Yeah.
So it'd be good to be together and do that again. It'd be good.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We'll be able to do it together, which obviously there'll be a bit more engagement. It'll be a bit easier. We did a pretty good job over the phone. Like you were on South Bank or whatever.
Yeah.
In the
it was
car,
pretty
on
fun.
the car park, all that sort of stuff. I think it went really well. So anyway, I want to thank you, Lauren, for being able to secure these guests.
Pleasure.
So thank you very much. You're definitely adding a lot to the podcast. Loving having you on. So thank you for all the hard work you've been doing in the background.
Pleasure.
And everything. It's been great. It's been great. All right. Well, we're going to see everyone in Sydney. And yeah, we've got another busy period. Got another DNSP to speak to after that as well.
Yes.
So that's going to be fun too. Yeah, busy times, fun period for the solar industry. All right, we'll wrap things up there. Thanks very much, Charmaine. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you coming to the studio here in Carrum. And we'll see everyone on the next episode. Thanks very much.
Thanks. See you later.
Thanks. Bye.